WTS presents
3, 2, 1.
All the Feelings. This episode,
Doubt.
Welcome, everybody, to All the Feelings. That's right, WTS presents All the Feelings. I'm Pete Wright, and that right over there is Tommy Metz III.
Hey, paisano. That's my new character.
That's what we're doing today? Excellent.
Yep. Yeah.
Straight from the hills of Tuscany.
Thank you so much for having me. This is exciting. This is our halfway mark for the season. We usually do 12 episodes. If you're a Feeling Friends, you get much more. But 12 episodes, this is number 6. And Pete, what are we talking about today?
Today, Tommy, we're talking about doubt.
Noun, a feeling of uncertainty or lack of conviction.
Doubt. This is a big one, Pete. This was exciting. This was one of the first ones we came up with when we were coming up with our weird list of nonsense.
Which
for
is
whatever
telling.
this podcast is supposed to be.
That is
Yes.
telling that that's the first one we would come to.
Yeah, we came up with doubt right after saying, I wonder if this new podcast format is going to work. I have my, what's the word?
Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, we are going to doubt, let it all out. I'm excited.
You're talking about the Australian mega band.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
right. Okay.
These are the
good.
things we're
These
worried
are the
about.
things we're
Come
worried
on.
about. That's good. I don't know that I'd ever heard that bit. So I want to start with a quiz that will tie into my section, which we'll do later. Is that okay?
I love quizzes. Let's do this.
It's a quick one. And it's all
Okay.
about
Okay.
averages. So I'm going to read 8 statements to you, and you are going to think about each one and process it, and you're going to give me a number 1 through 5. 1 means I don't agree. 5 means I strongly agree. And
Got it.
you got it. Okay.
3 means I fell asleep. Okay.
I'm no
1 to
longer
5.
present.
1 no agree, 5 strong agree. Got it.
Right. Okay. I will be able to achieve most of the goals that I have set for myself.
4. Ooh. 3. Depends on the day.
Oh.
But I'm going to go high.
Shall we
Most of the
just say
goals? No.
today. How do you feel today?
Today?
Yeah.
You mean the goals that I have for today?
For yourself.
Or the goals I have in my life
How do you
for
feel today
today?
about achieving the goals that you've set for yourself writ large?
Well, I got a flu shot. My arm hurts, and I lost my keys yesterday. Let's come in at a strong 3.
Okay.
3.5.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm lowering it from 4.
I'm giving you a no half stars rule on this. No half star. You don't get a half
3.
stars. It's a 3. All right. Number 2. When facing difficult tasks, I am certain that I will accomplish them.
You know what? Certain, huh? It's weird because with anxiety and doubt, I know that I will accomplish them. Like some part of me knows I will accomplish them, but the worry that I won't is the hardest feeling. So weirdly, even though I know I will accomplish them, there is so much uncertainty involved, I'll give myself a 2.
Oh,
unfortunately.
man, I relate to that. All right. Number 3. In general, I think that I can obtain outcomes that are important to me.
4.
Oh, nice. Coming in hot.
I like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent.
Because that is less about the anticipatory and more looking at the end
Mhm.
when things usually come up pretty well.
Okay. I love it.
It's just the getting there.
Yeah,
All
of
right.
course. I believe I can succeed at most any endeavor to which I set my mind.
I believe I can succeed. Again, I don't mean to keep harping over the same horse, not a phrase, but I know that I will be able to do it, but part of me, I'll say 3. Like I
Okay.
do have a really good success rate, but the getting there is rough stuff.
Mhm.
So if we're saying words like certainty or really believe, obviously I don't, because otherwise I wouldn't be nervous going in. Right. That's how I have to think about it. If I'm nervous or don't want to do it, even though I know I'll probably do well, but there's approach avoidance, then yes, I'm going to downgrade myself to 2.
2.
2 to 3.
Oh, okay. Okay. Got it. And I should say, now that we're at the halfway point, I hope you can tell this is not a joke quiz. Like, this is not a
Right.
out of, GQ. This is a legit behavioral assessment, and we'll talk about it later.
Uh-oh.
I know. The stakes just got even higher. I wonder if you will set your if you'll be able to achieve what you can.
Well, because
visualize
I've traditionally gotten all of my what's that smell quizzes from Maxim. So I'm glad that you're up to
This one's
you're
from
upping our
Veterinarians
class.
Quarterly. I don't know who they're talking to. Here we go. Number 5. I will be it's a quiz for horses. I will be able to successfully overcome many challenges. Many seems to be
4.
carrying a lot of weight.
It's a lot of weight, but I do end up overcoming challenges.
Yeah.
It's just the hard road getting there. So I will say 4.
Okay. Number 6.
Mhm.
I am confident that I can perform effectively on many different tasks.
4.
Outstanding.
I am confident. It's
Mhm.
just the getting there is rough. I'm sorry, I'm repeating myself.
Compared to other people,
Uh-oh.
I know, extra layer of complexity already.
Mm-hmm.
I can
Yeah.
do most tasks very well.
And this is for horses? All right. I can jump and gallop. Let's see.
I'm a pretty pony.
Compared
I'm
to
a
other
pretty
people,
pony.
I can do most activities.
Most
very well.
tasks very well compared to other people.
I am at risk of own horn tooting. I am good at things that some make people very nervous, like public speaking, thinking on my feet, leading groups.
Telling wedding
But then
parties
other
to sit
basic
down.
things, wedding parties to town. But I am bad at things like keeping keys in pocket, as I proved yesterday. So I'll give myself right down the middle. I'll give myself a 3.
Okay.
Because I also don't want to be boastful.
No, why would you? Number 8. Even when things are tough, I can perform quite well.
Yes, because once I'm performing, 4.
Oh, nice. I know.
Once I'm in the fire, baby.
You didn't give yourself any. I mean, you're just right across the bell curve, right? You are skiing the bell curve, is what I call that. That's a thing now.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
There are
What does
no
that
5s.
mean?
There are no 5s,
right.
and there are no 1s.
I feel like I live in the gray.
Huh.
I'm a student of Pleasantville. Like I'm always just sort of like somewhere in the middle because my abilities versus my mental feelings about my abilities are vastly different.
Yes.
At vastly different times.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's really hard for me. Like if there were questions that were just straight up, when I'm already doing the hard task, am I able to pivot on my feet? I would say 5.
Yeah.
When I am performing, no matter how nervous I was leading up to it, will I be able to control my fear while on stage? 5, 100%. But when it's a mix of
Yeah.
all those things, how do you feel about it and leading up to it? That's when it gets all murky.
For sure. And that's
skiing the bell
exactly
curve.
what I'm.
That's my phrase for it.
I think that's a thing. I have the
Yeah.
exact same thing. When I feel like I'm on, I'm fine. I'm 5s all the way. But if you're asking me to project to a future self, that is where doubt creeps in. And it's horrible. It is horrible. So I will tell you, your average is 3.25 for those who have not been keeping score and averaging out your scores at home. Why would they do that? And we're going to talk more about that later. Do you want to tell me about doubt?
Peter Rita, as this episode is coming out in October, surely one of the spookiest months.
For sure.
I have a spine-tingling tale to tell you.
No, I totally expected harrowing.
It involves a cabin in the woods, a candle, a board, a planchette, and a healthy dose of young doubt. Peter, this is the story of the first time I ever used a Ouija board.
Oh, my gosh.
And yes, Pete, this story is harrowing.
As friends we've gathered, hearts are true. Spirits near, we call to you.
Sadly, I have never successfully kept a journal while growing up, so I'm not exactly sure when this took place. But it was before I moved to Boulder, Colorado in the 4th grade, so my family and I still lived in Vienna, Virginia. So my guess is I was around 7 or 8. And I had a friend whose family had a cabin in the woods near a lake. And every summer I would go up and stay with him and a friend of his for a few nights. And on one of these nights, my friend said he had a new game he wanted to try. And out came the Ouija board. Now, I'm assuming that almost everyone knows what a Ouija board is from now, and I'm going to go back and forth from saying Ouija and Ouija. No one knows. But just in case you are not familiar, a Ouija or spirit board is a board covered in letters of the alphabet and certain words like yes or no. And players put their hands on a planchette, which is like a small heart-shaped object with a little hole in the middle. And you supposedly use it to communicate with the spirit world as the planchette moves across the board, spelling out words and phrases when your hands are on it. In the film The Exorcist, it is a Ouija board that Lil Reagan uses to communicate with the spirit Captain Howdy, leading to her possession. The Ouija board is currently trademarked by Hasbro. Okay. Pete, without getting into too much specifics, because I do have a tale to tell, did you ever have any Ouija board experiences growing up? And if you had to assign a couple words to them, what would it be?
Unsatisfying. I mean, we were kids and I could always feel it was usually, what was her last name? It was like Megan Cherry, I think was her name. Megan Cherry. If you're out there, everybody knows you were riding the Ouija board. Everybody knows it. You made it spell stuff and everybody knew. There was never a secret.
Classic Cherry.
Uh-huh.
Got it.
So,
okay.
Unsatisfying.
We'll go back to that.
Okay.
We'll go back to that, but unsatisfying. Okay. Well, mine wasn't unsatisfying. Mine was, what's the word? Harrowing. Here we go. Okay, so it's nighttime, and the parents have all gone to sleep. And it's me, my friend, and his friend, and it's Ouija time. If I remember correctly, my friend knew the specifics of how the spirit board worked because his older brother had taught him. So we turn out all the lights, light a candle that we somehow had, and we begin. We placed our little hands on the planchette and peered through the little glass piece in the middle and asked, "Is someone there?" Nothing happened. Then, slowly, the planchette glided over to the top left of the board, centering on a word. Yes. A shiver ran down our spines as we whispered to each other, asking if one of us was pushing the planchette like a real cherry. I knew I wasn't, and my friends insisted they weren't either. We asked if who we were talking to was dead. The heart-shaped piece, with our hands on it, lazily moved once around the board, then stopped again at the same word. Yes. One of us asked, "What is your name?" The planchette glided across the board, stopping at a series of letters. V-I-K-T-R. Victor? Yes. We asked, "Victor, are you happy?" No. Why not? N-O-R-E-S-T. No rest. Why can't you rest, Victor? We asked. M-A-D. Mad. Who are you mad at, Victor? We whispered. The planchette stayed still, then slowly moved over to a single letter. U. We all took our hands off the planchette and started nervously whispering. Why was he mad at us? Because we spoke to him? Because we were alive and he wasn't? We didn't know, but we'd had enough of the Ouija board that night. We turned on the lights, blew out the candle, and tried to go to sleep, albeit with the lights still on all night. The next day, we couldn't stop talking about the Ouija board. My friends were filled with conviction. We had talked to a spirit, and we had to be careful we didn't make Victor upset again. My friend's brother had told him that sometimes spirits could cross over through the board. After a lot of talk, we decided we would try to contact him one more time that night to see if he was still upset. And as I listened to my friends talk, I realized something. I was doubtful. Unlike the two other boys, I thought something seemed weird about the whole thing. And we didn't have any newfangled internet yet, so it's not like I could do any research at the cabin. But still, I wouldn't have known the word skeptical yet, but I now know that's what I was. And it felt strange, feeling doubtful while my friends were so sure. So, I came up with a plan. That night, as it grew dark and the wind howled outside, we once again lit a candle, turned out the lights, and placed our hands on the planchette. Well, actually, they did. I said I would just observe this time. My friends agreed, and we began. Victor, are you there? The planchette scratched across the board. Yes. Victor, are you still mad? Yes. Then I made a suggestion, the plan I'd thought of before to see if my doubts about the spirit board were correct. I asked my friends who had their hands on the planchette to close their eyes for the next question, and I would read out what Victor responded. They agreed and closed their eyes tight. Victor, I whispered, where are you right now? The planchette didn't move. I checked to make sure my friend's eyes were closed. They were. Victor, I whispered again, where are you? Slowly, the planchette began to move. At first, it didn't settle on a letter. It just moved across the board as if wondering what to point to. And then it stopped on a letter. B. And then more letters followed. E. H. Another letter. Another pause. Then 4 letters right in a row. I, N, D, U. Behind you. And the candle fluttered out, plunging us into total darkness. Yeah, not really. As soon as I had my friends close their eyes, my suspicions were immediately confirmed because the planchette just pointed out random letters like Q, R, P, D, S, and then like scooted off the board onto the carpet. Like Victor got both ghost drunk and dyslexic at the same time. I had doubted the spirit world aspect and had thought that when we were moving the piece, we were maybe moving it without knowing it, starting a word and then subconsciously finishing it. And so if you take sight out of the equation, it would just be gibberish. And now that I'm older and somewhat smarter, I know the scientific name for this phenomenon. Do you happen to know what it is, Pete?
I don't. Megan Cherry?
It's the ideomotor or ideometer effect. The people whose hands hover over the little pointer that glides around the board are actually moving it to spell out the answers, even if they don't mean to. So unlike your friend Judas Cherry, whatever her name was, a lot of times you're not trying to do it. Ideometer movements are unconscious gestures that we make in response to strong ideas or emotions. And you're already keyed up because the candle, because the howling wind, because the all that
everything.
Stuff.
Yeah.
The reason I bring up that long story is because that's one of the earliest memories. I really spent some time this last week trying to think, like, when did I start to really experience doubt or skepticism about certain things? And that's one of the earliest memories that I have of really being apart from the norm or apart from the group. And it's a really weird feeling. Like there's a little pride in it, but being the lone doubter is also very lonely. Yeah. And as someone that thrives off of, spoiler alert, belonging to a group, being a part of everyone else, I don't get a lot of like zing from that. And inevitably, when I revealed the gibberish that my closed eyes friends were pointing out, they got defensive. They weren't like, oh, aren't you smart? Hooray. They got defensive and said I wasn't following the rules. So maybe Victor was trying to trick us. This is also when I realized I might need new friends, and I moved to Boulder. So that's the kind of thing that I wanted to talk about briefly, is just the feeling of doubt, how it can be very helpful, but it can also be very lonely. And very distancing from other people. And doubt and skepticism has gotten a firm hold on our society, whether it be about science, whether it be about politics, whether it be about conspiracy theories that have really reared new heads. Yeah. We're in a new place. I mean, and we have newscasters saying things like, we are post-truth. Okay, A, I don't care for that phrase. I never have. Yeah. But B, what's the opposite of that? Well, it's doubt. That's what that leads to. Yeah. So do you remember, and I'm sort of putting you on the spot, but like childhood or like early times when you felt either one phrase for it, maybe like self-ostracized, like you are taking yourself away from the norm or the majority because you're like, I think we should look a little harder into this.
Well, I certainly, I mean, I share, I don't have nearly the theatrical experience that you have with the Ouija board. But I do think like that is the time as we're growing up that you are, as an individual, exploring those kinds of feelings and experiences and trying to create for yourself a sense of belief in something, right? What do you believe in? And when you run into something you don't believe in, the antithesis of it is you doubt it now, right? I don't believe, I doubt what it is. And that is, I mean, I absolutely, sort of resonate with that experience because I came from a community of a lot of kids who loved exploring that kind of stuff. And I pulled myself out pretty early.
exploring stuff like the occult or occult adjacent
occult
things.
adjacent. There was
Spooky stuff.
always the Bloody Mary and the mirror and the the slumber party culture. It just sort of became that part of the bouquet of slumber party culture, and I think was also tested in movies and TV that were scary. Like as soon as you question your own reality by seeing things that are super believable in film and make you not be able to turn the lights off at night, you start to doubt yourself. You doubt what you are, you doubt your senses. You doubt your own sort of identity as somebody who believes or doesn't. We joke about this all the time, and I it's the idea of, sure, I believe in spirits or angels or demons or whatever, because what if I say that I don't and it turns out I was wrong?
Pascal's wager.
Yes.
You want to hedge your bets?
That's right. It's hedging. That's what I was looking for. Pascal's wager. Like I feel like that is the ultimate sort of litmus test for doubt versus belief, which is like, how convinced are you that you're right, that you live without doubt? Like doubt is a spectrum, and the level of agency that you have in it, that you take in it, defines your level of sort of, I don't know, authenticity in a belief, in your ideology.
Yeah. And why I wanted to bring up childhood, it's one of the first, memories, but as you brought up, year by year, doubt and skepticism, because you just, what are adults originally? Gods that know everything. You can't do anything.
Excellent.
Everything they tell you is true, all of that. And then slowly, sometimes by their own fault, doubt and skepticism comes in. I will not name check anything by a proper noun because I'm not exactly sure who's listening to this, but there are the equivalent of superheroes that we involve in our children's lives.
Yes.
That are big harbingers of growing older, of certain days of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And when you find out maybe some of those have a different efficacy than the other ones, I'm trying to be very careful for any parents
We're
that are
talking
listening,
about
maybe
Harvey
with little ones.
and the Thursday God and Mr. Munchable,
The
who
idea
only shows
of-
up afternoon on Sundays.
Yeah.
Yes.
That all your teachers are fake. You can just walk out of the classroom anytime you want. All candy is free. Anyways, the idea of that we sort of force in doubt and skepticism.
Yes.
Of going along with sort of this big story, and then some of it turns out not to be maybe as true as we thought it would be.
Right.
So that's an interesting sort of situation that we're setting up in, and maybe that's an important, I think that's an important part of, you said, becoming more of a real person, becoming more, deciding what you believe in on your own. You do have to, a healthy person, I think, has to be able to separate themselves and come up with, it doesn't mean you have to believe only in what you believe in. We have a cabin in the woods for you. And you should start learning what manifesto means. But the idea of choosing your group, that's what a lot of college is for. Traditionally also, that college is, I think, very partly about learning smarts, but it's also about socialization and finding the real you, because you're not just obligated to be with these kids because they live in your neighborhood. Instead, you find your neighborhood within all the kids, which is great.
Right. And it does get to, I think it's interesting that you brought up doubt in this context, because I think it gets to something that I want to talk about in a minute, which is about how that impacts our own view of self, right? And because who am I? Like, I live in self-doubt. And that is my cabin in the woods. And so I think it's important to talk about like the role that these formative experiences have in allowing us to create a model for either trust in ourselves or doubt in ourselves and our abilities. Because most of the time that sucks.
Right.
Nobody's good at it. Don't worry. Like,
right.
People don't research this stuff because it's solved, right? That's so.
Because sometimes people use doubt as just a wall.
Yes.
The idea of healthy doubt and healthy skepticism, I would think, and I'm sort of shooting from the hip, ATF, is like, you don't just stop and go, I don't know about that, and shut everything down.
Yeah.
It should lead you to investigate more.
Right.
You'll want to find out more, at least to, even if there's no real answer, you can figure out what you believe in versus, well, I don't know, that doesn't seem right, so I'm just going to shut all of that down. And then that's where we do get conspiracy theories, straw man arguments, things like that sometimes we are dealing with a lot.
Yeah.
And of course, dealt with a lot during the pandemic and the lockdown, the pandemic that's still going on. So doubt is great. And doubt is the worst. Doubt is self-defeating. Doubt is self-promoting. All of those things. It's a really fascinating kind of word.
What did the
and feeling?
What did the self-doubt say to itself in the mirror?
Oh no. What?
I'm not sure if I see myself doing this.
You're almost done with your joke book?
What do you think? I got a couple more. Do you want to just roll out one or two more? Here we go. Here you go.
Sure. Let's do this.
Did you hear about the self-doubting cat?
No.
This is part of my type 5. It was persistent questioner of its own abilities.
That is such a weird long walk. It's just to use the word purr. All right, fine. You could say, well, why was the cat a baker? Because he made a perfect cake. That sucks. That has nothing to do with self-doubt. Take us home with one last one that's a good one. Because that one was horse S. That second one had nothing to do with self-doubt.
They go down from here.
They go down?
Yeah,
all right, well, give me one more, and this will decide whether we end the episode right now.
Why did the self-doubt bring a ladder to the meeting?
Why did self-doubt bring a ladder to the meeting? Okay.
Stupid. Self-doubt doesn't carry a ladder. It needed a few extra steps to reach a conclusion.
Oh, see, I like that one.
You do? I think that
I was just angry at the cat one.
Walk.
No, because at least it involves self-doubt. The cat one I can make into 9 other jokes that have nothing to do with self-doubt. Why did the cat live in the North Pole? Because it was Santa Claus, right? Claws on a cat? Boo.
Yeah.
Self-doubt. I don't care for it.
Why don't self-doubts make good detectives?
Why?
Because they always second guess themselves. Cut. Doubt requires more courage than conviction does, and more energy, because conviction is a resting place, and doubt is infinite. It is a passionate exercise. You may come out uncertain. You may want to be sure. Look down on that feeling. We've got to learn to live with a full measure of uncertainty. There is no last word. That's the silence under the chatter of our time. John Patrick Shanley.
All of us experience doubt in our lives, and doubt can often be a useful tool in deciding how one should proceed in certain circumstances. But sometimes, even a few seconds of doubt can change one's life and legacy forever. Such was the case for the pilot and the commander. After an arduous journey, the 2 men had finally reached their mysterious destination. They radioed back to HQ that they were ready to disembark and waited for confirmation. The pilot was to leave the vessel first and be the first man to step on this mysterious, foreign land outside. A few minutes later, as was protocol, the commander would follow. Finally, word from home crackled over the speaker. It was time to exit the craft. Pilot first, came the command. And at that, the pilot hesitated. What really awaited him outside the door? No one had ever stepped outside in this environment. What if something went wrong? What if his training failed him? What if... The second command came over the speaker. Commander next. Unlike the pilot, the commander didn't hesitate. Hitching up his large backpack, he opened the hatch and stepped down on the new territory and became the first man to walk on the moon. The commander was Neil Armstrong, and because of pilot Buzz Aldrin's momentary hesitation, he, and not Buzz, was the one to deliver the immortal words, "One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." Aldrin's moment of doubt changed his legacy forever. Or did it? As long as we're talking about doubt, let's look a little deeper into this story. Although the above anecdote can be found splashed across numerous motivational internet pages and shared numerous times on such sites as LinkedIn, it's almost certainly not true. Apollo expeditions to the moon, the historical account maintained by NASA's History Office, agrees that Aldrin was originally supposed to be the first man to step on the moon, but the lunar module posed design challenges that made this very difficult. The hatch opened on the opposite side of where Aldrin was seated, and Aldrin, in his bulky spacesuit and backpack, would have to climb over Armstrong to get out first. When they tried that in training, they damaged the mock-up of the lunar module. Also, it was later revealed that NASA believed Armstrong's calm, steadfast demeanor made him a better candidate for infamy. So, doubt can hold you back, but doubting that doubt can also lead you to the truth. What? While you might not be the next person on the moon, you can be the next person to help keep this podcast in orbit by becoming a feeling friend today. For the astronomically low price of $35, you can get early access to episodes, member-only content with each ep, exclusive live streams where you can see when all of these words come out of our dumb faces for the first time, special member-only bonus episodes, stickers, and a What's That Smell / All the Feelings bingo card that you can play along with every episode. And most importantly, you help Commander Pete and I continue to make this show that we love to do. It is not free to make, so if you like what you hear, blast off over to allthefeelings.fun and become a feeling friend today. It will be one small amount from your pocketbook, one giant leap for all of podcasting. Now, back to the show.
Tom, you might be asking, nay, begging me to tell you about the thing that I made you do in the beginning of the show. Remember just a few minutes ago today?
The quiz. It feels like it was ancient times. But yes, I don't know. I think
it was ancient times.
I'm most handsome? Oh my God, Pete. Am I looking at the wrong results?
Most handsome.
Wow,
3.25 on a handsome scale.
Mom was right.
1 through 5. Weird.
Weird, right?
No, that was
the sweet
actually
spot.
the general self-efficacy scale. The GSE, developed by Matthias Jerusalem and Rolf Schwarzer. It is a scale composed of only those 8 items, ranked from 1 to 5, and the score is just calculated as a raw average. That's where you show up. And it does an interesting thing when talking about your level of efficacy as relates to your own agency, how effective you are versus how much control you exude in your life. Like, you'll notice each of the questions have kind of an interesting twist on how you face challenges, how you overcome hard things, how you let ego get involved in your ability to handle hard things and accomplish your challenges, right? All of those things I think are really interesting, and you were at 3.25. So skiing on the top of the bell curve. Why is efficacy important, you might be asking? Go ahead, I'll give you time. Yes, efficacy is important because of this dude, Albert Bandura. Oh my goodness. Bandura.
Who is this guy? Don't get me started.
He was a player in doubt research as a function of self-efficacy, because he said,
do we need to define efficacy if we're going to continue to use this?
Yeah, I'm doing it right now. I'm literally reading you the definition. I'm leaving all this in to show how disrespectful you are of me.
We're in a real big fight, everybody.
Yeah, we're in a huge fight right now.
Yeah.
This is what he said. How well one can execute courses of action required to deal with prospective situations, right?
Got it.
That is self-efficacy. People who have a high sense of self-efficacy are likely to view their state of affective arousal as an energizing facilitator of performance, whereas those who are beset by doubt regard their arousal as a debilitator. Think of it. Just parse that for a second.
Man, that was rough. That was all the words.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
That was a lot of words in a row that can, and many words in a row stress us out. So we've got to slow it down. People who have a high sense of efficacy are likely to view their state of effective arousal as an energizing factor of performance, whereas those who are beset by doubt regard their arousal as a debilitator. So when we're talking about arousal, we're talking about the stress and anxiety that comes in performance, right?
Okay.
Because when you're about to perform an action, if you're about to get on stage, if you're about to give a presentation at work, if you're about to perform as an athlete on a field, there is a sweet spot where getting excited about the thing that's about to come can help you, and getting too excited shuts you down.
Yes.
That's
okay,
anxiety
so
and fear.
Got it.
There is a sweet spot, and having the right amount of efficacy, feeling that internal feeling that you can accomplish the thing that you are about to set out to do is the thing you're trying to achieve, right? That's what
Right.
we're all trying to achieve.
So the arousal can make you sharp, or the arousal can become like a blanket over you. Like if you
Right.
just can't do it. Okay, got it.
Exactly. And Bandura, Pop, we call him Pop Bandura, the granddad of self-efficacy.
Mhm.
He had four major components of what determines self-efficacy, judgments, he called them, determining efficacy judgments.
Okay.
If you have these four components to a high proper degree, you reach self-efficacy, right? You have the right amount. And one was performance outcomes. Positive and negative experiences influence the ability of an individual to perform given task. If one has done well at this thing in the past, one is likely to feel strong about the chances of them doing well at this thing in the future, right?
Mhm.
It's pretty easy. It's practice. That's what we're
Right.
talking about there. Verbal persuasion. Self-efficacy is influenced by encouragement and discouragement pertaining to an individual's performance or ability to perform. This makes me think about our pride conversation,
Yeah.
which was all about like giving the right feedback and receiving the right feedback.
Makes all the
that-
difference.
That makes all the difference, right?
Makes you
Vicarious
hungry to keep
experiences.
going.
Yeah, exactly. Vicarious experiences, people can develop high or low self-efficacy vicariously through other people's performances. When you watch someone do a thing well, you can, to some extent, internalize that thing. You can watch someone else and compare their competence with your competence, and that can help influence your own self-efficacy, right?
Would that be like, I want the success that person had, or I can do that, and so you
Yes.
get anything you can do, I can do
More
better.
the
kind of thing.
latter.
Got it.
More
Okay.
the latter, because what happens when you're saying I want the success that someone is doing? That's imposter syndrome, right? Like
Yep.
I might not have the skill to do it, but I should be on that stage,
Got it.
right? I want the success of Max
Right.
Verstappen.
That's
of Team Red Bull.
That's the hubristic of I can do this one thing, so I should be able to do everything. Or I can see that
Yes.
that's valuable, so now I'm that.
So now I'm that. Yeah,
Me.
I'm the one.
Yep.
So what we're really talking about is and specifically the word that Bandura uses is competence. You are evaluating competence and comparing it to your competence, right?
Mm-hmm.
I might want the success of Max Verstappen and Formula One Team Red Bull, but I know I don't have the competence to achieve it.
Sure.
Right. And Bandura's fourth was physiological feedback. People experience sensation from their body, and how they perceive this emotional arousal influences their beliefs of efficacy, right? You have, I think gymnasts call this spatial awareness, right? When they're
Right.
flying through the air, their body understands what it feels like to achieve the goal, which is to land on feet and arms in air and all of that. And so they are able to internalize that. So performance outcomes, vicarious experiences, verbal persuasion, and physiological feedback leads to improving your self-efficacy. And I say it again, it all sounds a lot like practice.
Yeah.
Just
Right. Rehearsal.
do a thing, have
Yep.
a good coach to tell you that it's good, and study other people who do it.
Right.
And you will get better at it yourself. James Maddox adds a fifth layer to this, a fifth component to Bandura. He says, imaginal experiences or visualization.
Yes.
You've got to go through creative visualization to get it
That was the first thing that I
What do
was
you think?
taught when I was really nervous about stuff, is visualize yourself doing well and keep
Yes.
doing it. Make that, because mine as well. If you're just going to make something up, this is something that I've been
Yeah.
learning. If you're going to make something up, why not have it be positive? Like I like to
Yes, for
create like
sure.
daymares or very negative ideations of this is what it's going to look like when it goes wrong. Well, what if everybody leaves the show and buys flowers to send to you? Like, why not just make something up? Yeah.
Yeah.
And make it
sure.
be positive. Yeah.
For sure. So let's talk more about that. Like your experience of do you remember like a key experience of, say, stage fright? Like of performance anxiety that when doubt sort of got the better of you? Seems like you've been on top of that your whole life.
Well, the anticipatory anxiety is the hard part. Once I'm out there, it's usually better. Once I'm actually doing something or in front of the group, it's leading up to it that I come up with my phrase of daymare, of just wide open, and I'm having a terrible feelings of what's going to happen. That has not gotten better, surprisingly. There's still a disconnect between past success and future confidence that I struggle with all the time. Yes, there have been some performances where the anticipatory anxiety has gotten so bad that, and I actually have video of some of them, of going out, starting the song and realizing, oh, all the lyrics are gone. All of them. That's when I went way to like a chemical response to doubt and fear and suspicion of my own abilities, where my brain was just like, for some reason, it thought it was in triage. And it was like, well, to keep breathing, we have to get rid of the song, like all the lyrics to the Trolley song, which I talked about before when I flamed out on that dumb clang, clang, clang goes the hey now. That's an example
that's like the Enterprise, all power to shields, right? Like,
and it's like
remove power from life support, all power to shields.
Yes. And it's just not appropriate. It's reacting to something where I've let myself, that's when I don't spend enough time, breathing, remembering things, saying lyrics backwards, not whole lyrics backwards. That's something that Victor would do. But the idea of like, let's do the third verse first now. Let's do the second, to really try to stretch my mind and keep it very active. And I learned a lot more from that. But yeah, that's when I feel like I'm not in control. When I started, one performance, I did the Cup song from Pitch Perfect. This was at Miscast, friend of the got my ticket for a long way round. And the whole trick of that is you're doing all these flips with this cup. And you can see it on the video. maybe somehow we'll connect it. But you can see me start it. And the big thing is I didn't have the cup backstage to practice with. We left it out on stage and you're not allowed to go out.
Miming?
I was sort of miming, but not really.
Mime the Cup song.
And I got my ticket, cup song now. Yeah, it was really rough. But I went out and you can see me, my hands are shaking. I'm so nervous. And I start doing it. And instead, I hit the cup twice and then I take the cup in my hand and I just slam it like a cave person into the table. Bonk, bonk, bonk. And then I stop. And I look at the audience and I'm like, oh boy. And I shake out my hands and I do like the whole like shake out your neck thing, because my body in its nervous state had taken over. And I was like clumsily, like I was about to Frankenstein fire bad into the audience.
Yeah, you got amygdala hijacked.
Yes. But I stopped and I shook it out, and then I ended up doing it fine. And there were still mess ups, but I was very fun. And so, that's an example of the doubt, all the worry that I've been having backstage and not being able to practice. That's what I'm worried about, is losing control of my body. When my body is in such a state of, to use your word, or what's his name's word, arousal, that, that it just, don't have control. And that happened for a second. And I'm kind of glad that it happened, because it made the rest of it so much easier.
Yeah. It's so crazy. Like I feel like you and I right now are on a continuum, because you, I think, have those struggles with lyrics, but you practice and you do it and you perform and you have the tools to do it. And I used to, I feel like, have that. And then I had such a struggle with lyrics at one point that has now become a part of my identity, that I can't remember lyrics to new songs.
Right. Yeah, right? I do that
and
too.
So I
That's
don't
funny.
even try. I don't even try anymore because I'll never learn, so I don't even try to memorize songs. That feels like a ridiculously sad thing to say, but it's funny to me when I look at all of this stuff that's written about doubt, and I think, oh, that's the instruction manual to avoid what I've become.
Oh, I see.
Which is a monster of Frankenstein self-doubt, right?
Right. Yeah. I'm talking more about this. I'm more and more digging my 3.5 average.
You're feeling pretty good.
Well, because it does seem like maybe it is a sweet spot, at least for me. If I was if I was more doubtful, I'd be in trouble, and it would keep me from maybe wanting to do these things. If I was less doubtful, I worry that I wouldn't be as sharp or work as hard. I also know some performers that are overconfident and go into it being like, nope, I got this and it's fine. I don't need to rehearse. And then they've gone out and had trouble on stage.
Yeah.
And I try not to let myself do that either, because I give myself doubt and vulnerability. You know, second place tries harder. I'm the Pepsi to the Coke world. And so I want to.
You know, those people, they broke the law. Would you like to know what law?
Yeah.
The Yerkes-Dodson law. That's right. Yerkes-Dodson law from, just go ahead and guess the year. Yerkes-Dodson would have done some research in psychology defining exactly what you're talking about.
Sounds like a real 2010 law.
Oh, right. Or 1908.
What did I say? Was I close?
102 years earlier, Yerkes and Dodson came up with their finding. They have this law that suggests performance increases with mental arousal, quote, stress, but only up to a point. When an individual's level of stress is too high or too low, their performance deteriorates. That's the sweet spot we were talking about earlier. Yep. And in 2014, another group of psychologists came out and wrote up, Egan and colleagues, I'll just say it, Egan and colleagues, and said, you know what, the Yerkes-Dodson law needs to be repurposed for perfectionistic individuals, because people who are overconfident or are striving for perfection in spite of rational need to do so, need this reinforced, that there's a sweet spot. You can over prepare and actually your performance deteriorates. And on either side of that sweet spot lies doubt.
Right.
Either you're not preparing enough, so you doubt your own performance, or you fail because you over-prepared and thus doubt your ability to perform in the future.
Right. Yeah.
You're screwed on both ends.
Right.
Yeah.
You got to go skiing with me, baby. Right on the top.
You got to go skiing on the bell curve.
Yeah. Woo! Powder.
I want to wrap it up because I've been meandering too long on this, but I just want to say there has been a lot of research on this, and they say fall into the 4 factors, right? Emphasize peer modeling, right? So learn from examples set by those around you, and think of it as a student-teacher, mentor-mentee relationship. Constantly be looking and evaluating others that you respect and internalizing the lessons from them.
Yep.
Seek feedback.
Oh, yeah.
The problem with understanding feedback is that some people tend to believe that getting no feedback is the same as being told that one is doing their job well. That is not true. Your brain doesn't see it that way. You got to check in. No news is, in fact, bad news.
Okay.
If you are looking at performance improvement. And so encourage participation. You got to get on the field and play. Whatever it is you're trying to build your confidence and remove doubt, you have to get out there and do the work. And encourage agency. Whether the outcome is positive or negative, making one's own decisions allows for one to feel responsible due to your cunning or your negligence, says Bandura. That's amazing. The person themselves is held accountable for if the outcome turned out in your favor or against you. You have to own the performance completely. You choose to perform, you own the results. And that is agency. There are ties, the research ties to people with low agency. They have very poor health habits. right? They don't eat well. They don't brush their teeth. There are lots of behaviors that suffer on the spectrum of human behavior around health and fitness. They have poor academic success, right? They just don't succeed as well in school because they stop trying at some point.
Right.
And
Doubt begets doubt.
And heading back to our old friend, doubt, coming up with a tool to address doubt in the form of self-efficacy helps you address your fears and phobias.
Oh.
It leads you to breaking through the walls by exposure therapy and by visualizing success in getting over the things that make you afraid. What do you think about that? That's not bad.
I love all of that.
Okay.
That's very helpful. This is good. I was doubting our ability to do that.
But then we had self-advocacy to do a podcast, which is the dumbest sort of self-advocacy, because anybody could podcast.
I think we solved doubt. We did it, everybody.
Yeah. Whew.
It's funny that you bring all that up because I spend most of my time on stage trying to hide my arousal state. Because I'm knocking over mic stands, bottles of water all over the stairs because I am turned on.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've got a real stage light kink going on. Anything, any spotlights, any floodlights. Yeah, gets me going.
No shame. No kink.
That's why I am single. Oh, baby.
That's it. That's the button right there. You bring up being light horny and we're done.
We're still in the moonlight. It's something sweet. Let it wash over all of me. With you I form my company. Forever close to the unknown. There's no doubts and no regret. Happy before we get another day to do it all again.
Thank you all so much for joining us for this episode. This week's tune for you doubters is Be Bold, Be Brave by To the Valley. And Pete, what are we talking about next week? It's a happy one.
Oh my goodness, Tom, this is another doozy, especially coming off of doubt. We're going to talk about belonging. Belonging together, belonging to a group. What are the good parts? What are the bad parts? Why is it so important to all of us? And other things that we have not spent 1 minute on yet trying to research or think about. Yeah, I think it'll involve finger knitting. I think there will be some finger knitting involved.
You think finger knitting?
That's all I know
one?
about it so far, so it's going to be great.
Great. All right. Well, then, until then, who are you?
I'm Pete Wright.
And I'm Tommy Mitz III. Who are you? Thank you all so much for downloading. We will be back next week with all the feelings.